Welcome back to Create. In the last episode we opened Sector 2 and we built a cute little factory where we get to make the yummiest foods in the mod. But we still haven't completely automated it, so let's fix that by opening Sector 3 where we will deal with everything concerning plants and trees. So for our food we're gonna need to farm three things here: sugarcane, cocoa beans, and sweet berries. And honestly, all three of those things are gonna be super easy to farm because we have that little thing here called a mechanical harvester, and as the name sort of implies, that thing is very useful when you need to harvest stuff. So basically it breaks crops and plants and stuff like that, but it also replants them if it can. So it's super useful for that when it comes to like automating all of that stuff, which means our farms are gonna be quite simple. So instead of focusing on complex farms, we're gonna focus on making farms that look very cool. And well, before we can build those, we need to clear out a bit of that forest here. So that should be good enough, and I already planned out what I'm gonna put where, and here we're gonna have the sweet berry farm, so that's the one we're gonna start with. First of all, we're gonna place some barrels, which are gonna be used for both their inventory as well as kind of the frame of the machine. And we're gonna put harvesters next to them. We glue everything together, and to move them around, so they're gonna move that way, we're gonna put a gantry above them. So let's just place a torch and place a gantry here, flip it the right way, perfect. And now we can extend it a bit, just to there, should be good enough, we didn't need that one. And we put the gantry carriage underneath, and now if we link it to that power output over there, just like that, it should start moving. And well, if there were some sweet berries here, they would get harvested. There's just a slight little problem that you'll notice when it reaches the end. Like so, it stops, and if we want to bring it back, it's gonna be backwards, which will not really work. So what we are actually gonna do, we're gonna change this a little bit. We're actually gonna move the gantry up by 2 blocks, just like that, so that we can fit a mechanical bearing here. Let's just rotate it so that it's facing downwards. We're gonna put a gearbox here, also rotate it so that it connects with the bearing. And if we put a hand crank here, ta-da, we can flip it around, and now it's ready to go back to the beginning. So if we flick that lever here, it's gonna switch around that gear shift. And I forgot to glue everything together. No, my glue is here. I am a professional, do not worry. There we go, that's perfect. So now it's coming back, so it's gonna re-harvest everything. And when it reaches the end, we just spin it around, flick the lever again, and it's gonna go back and forth, basically. There's a little thing though, I'm not gonna do all of that manually, of course. That would be kind of annoying and, you know, defeat the purpose of everything, but don't worry about a thing. It's actually super easy to automate. I didn't have to add too much stuff. Just added these redstone contacts on each corner, these 2 little cogwheels here, and a bunch of wireless redstone thingies, redstone links, that's what they're called. So yeah, that's basically wireless redstone, which is kind of fun. You just have to code them and they will transmit redstone signal, and it just makes redstone a lot less heavy, which is always great. So let's look at it in action. If I press this button, it starts, and fun thing is, if I keep pressing the button, it doesn't do anything, so it's kind of spam proofed. So yeah, it goes forward and it's harvesting all the sweet berries. And when it reaches the end, it's gonna power this gantry here. We're gonna see it happening. So it's gonna power the redstone contact, which powers the gantry. And when a gantry is powered, the carriage will stop moving and instead start spinning this little shaft that it's got on its side here. So that's what we use to just spin it around, and that's why we need redstone contacts on both sides. So this one detects like, okay, we need to start spinning. And this one says, let's stop the spinning and let's reset the input So if we press the button, it comes back. And for the redstone bits, it's hidden underneath here, and that's it. That's all there is to it. It's, yeah, the wireless redstone thingies allow it to be so compact, but there's a bunch of new redstone stuff that we get from Create, so like these things just add delay. It's kind of a super repeater. These bits, well, I'm gonna go and explain them outside. So that thing is called a powered latch, and it has two different inputs. So there's one from the back, which powers it, and another one from either side, which will unpower it. So if you power it, no matter how many times you send power into that input, it won't change anything until it gets reset by that input from the side. So that's what I've used to control the input or the start button, so that no matter how many times I press it, it won't mess anything up until it gets reset. It's just that little functionality, which we get in a single block, which is great because it would be a lot bigger using regular vanilla redstone. And with that, we have one farm finished, but we still have two to go, so we're gonna work on the second one now. That's gonna be the sugarcane farm. The basic principle is gonna be very similar to what we have here, so I'm gonna build the first part of it, which is just that. So it's kind of similar to what we have here. Big difference is that we can have it just on the ground level, just on the floor, because it apparently will not replace sugarcane. It replants everything else, not sugarcane, for some reason, but that's not a big deal. We just need to put it a bit higher, but we also need to put two harvesters, because if we just break the bottom cane, the top one won't be collected, which is not ideal. But like that, we can harvest everything that we need, so that's perfect. And if we flick this lever, it's moving towards us, harvesting all the sugarcane on the way. And when it reaches the end, it's gonna stop, so we can flick the lever and send it back. But I don't really like how that looks, because it's kind of going back inside potentially some of the sugarcane, and it's not harvesting anything. So what I want to have, it's gonna be very similar to that, but I want it so that at the front here it gets raised and then it moves back, and when it reaches the end, it's gonna get lowered back into place, ready to start another harvest. And that is the finished product. So let's look at it in action. If I press the button, it's gonna start going. Perfect, harvesting all the sugarcane. And to, I don't remember if I talked about it, but in order to raise that bit, I put a piston here. That's a mechanical piston. It's the Create equivalent of the pistons that we have in the regular game. So there we go. It gets raised, and then it starts going back. Also, it stops here to deliver the sugarcane. It's gonna be better eventually. Don't worry about that. We'll get a better system. And when it reaches the end, in the back here, there we go, it stops, gets lowered back into position, and now it's just waiting for us to press the button and harvest some more sugarcane. So it all works with these four little redstone contacts. And downstairs, if we look at the redstone, it's a bit more complex than what we had for the sweet berry farm, but it's not that big of a deal. It's not that bad. Again, using a lot of the cool new Create redstone components, it really helps keep things compact. And with that makes two farms done, so all we have left to do is make the cocoa bean farm, which is going to be over here. So that's where our cocoa beans are going to be placed for the farm, so there's going to be some on either side. And the way we're going to harvest them is going to involve a little something like that. So let me show you how it's going to work. So first, we retract the arms, pull them back in, then we spin it up, or well, move it up, so that it harvests everything. Then we can move it back down, and then we retract the arm back outside like so. I think it looks super cool like that. So now we just need to automate everything, which might be a bit complicated. And there it is, fully automated. So let's take a look at it in action, and hopefully nothing goes wrong because the trouble has happened, but good. Now it goes up. Harvest all the cocoa beans. That's good. Now it's connecting to the cocoa beans on the ground. Good. Good, good, good. Now it's going back down. Perfect. Gonna harvest some more cocoa beans. And now it goes back into place. That is perfect. We might need to work on the speed of the mechanism that makes it retract like that. But whatever. For the redstone, it's actually quite simple. Ooh, 28 cocoa beans, that's good. I mean, I can't even call it simple. I just use one of those. That's a sequence gear shift, and you just program all the movement that you want, and it just does that. The only little thing I had to include was that bit to control whether or not it's gonna spin the gantry carriage, or it's gonna move it up or down. That's the only little thing I had to take care of, but other than that, yeah, super happy with that result. So now we're gonna make all of these farms look good, because they look cool, but they don't look good. And now the farms have been made pretty, or well, at least some of the farms. So let's start with the least controversial one. Let's start with the sugarcane farm. All we needed was a frame to hold the gantry so it doesn't float in midair, and I think that works great. I really like how it looks. It's kind of symmetrical but anti-symmetrical at the same time in some way. Anyway, that's something I really like, and I'm very happy with how that one turned out. This one though, I went for more of a greenhouse kind of feel, and that one, I like that part. I used, I think they're called oak panes for the windows, and I really like how they look. I think they really fit in well with the aesthetic that I'm going for, kind of Renaissance-y kind of window. I don't know if it works, but I see it like that, and it works well. It was a bit repetitive. I felt to have just flat windows of all the same blocks, so I broke it off a bit with these. I think they're iron window panes or something. Again, I forgot to check the name. Sorry about that. But yeah, I used those, and it was kind of the best choice, but I'm still not really convinced, so I'm gonna need your opinion. Should I try just to have like all the same like flat windows like that, or maybe do something else with those? I don't know. Please write your suggestions in the comments below. It's really gonna help me because I'm a bit stuck right now. For the frame itself, it's all oak, and I'm not convinced. I don't think it's that bad, but it's very bland. It's very all of the same colors, so yeah, we'll see if I figure something out for that. Maybe I'm just gonna add a trim of a different wood type, or we'll see. And the big thing, that's Viridium. And at first, when I started planning out this world, I decided to assign one of the block types that we get in Create, the new stone types, one for each sector. And Viridium was like the obvious choice because it's green, so for the sector where we get all the plants and the trees, it's the obvious choice. I don't think it fits. Am I crazy? Does it look weird to you? I think it looks a bit weird to me, so I'm not sure if I'm gonna keep it. I'm thinking maybe we could use, I think it's called Verdant Brick, yeah. That one, so that kind of color. I'm not sure either, but maybe we'll try and use something like that instead in a few minutes. But yeah, that's it for this one farm. And now, that one, I had no idea what kind of build to build around it. Again, Viridium, I'm gonna do the same thing with Viridium that I do over there. If I change it to something else, I'm gonna change it here as well. Yeah, I felt like I needed to put Viridium in the build. I think it works well with the dark oak though. But yeah, not too convinced. The shape of that build, I'm not too convinced, but like we're growing cocoa beans here. We're not growing like some mushroom or something, so it needs to be outside. But I didn't want to have that machine kind of hanging out in mid-air like that, so we kind of needed something to cover it. So that's why I got roofs just there, so it covers the machine but not the farm itself. I'm really not convinced, but I'm gonna go ahead and get some of that verdant brick just to check out if it's better or not. So we got the verdant bricks. Let's try and changing some of that Viridium for those. The brick here, 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 and full blocks here. Huh. I don't hate it. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I like it better than that. I think we're just gonna switch everything. Yeah, that works. That works a lot better. Let's try and just see if we change these ones as well. If it's gonna look good also. Yep, we got something. Yep. I'm not even gonna ask your opinion on that. I'm just changing them. Yep. That's 1,000 times better, so that solves that problem. The only problem left, of course, is the weird shape of the build, but I actually thought of a very simple solution. We're just gonna ignore it. We'll deal with that later, maybe. We'll see. Because now we are gathering a bunch of cool new resources, but none of them are meant to be used here. They're all meant to be used back all the way there in Sector 2. And I'm not just gonna fill my pockets with all those items and run around the world to transport things everywhere, because we have a train. Well, that's a locomotive, but now we're gonna have a train because we're gonna build a little second wagon where we're gonna put a vault and carry all of our items around the world. Yeah, that little thing is going to be perfect for our needs, and you might have noticed something. There's two different portable storage interfaces. So this one is going to be to empty the vault, and this one's going to be to fill it up with all the goodies that we're going to get here or in, well, any of the other sectors. And since it's on top, we're going to need to make a little structure going above the train to connect with the portable storage interface. and it's an idea that I got from Throwlash while watching one of his videos, and I thought it looked really cool, so I thought, well, let's shamelessly steal someone else's idea. I mean, I'm not gonna copy it block for block, of course, but yeah, I don't think it's gonna be really a problem. But yeah, I thought it looked really cool, so yeah, might as well do something like that myself. I'm just not sure exactly how it's gonna be, so I started placing some blocks just to have a bit of an idea of where everything's gonna go. The portable storage interface just needs to be there, so it's not too far up high in the skies. The structure won't need to be like that tall. I also placed this pillar just to have an idea of what it would look like, and from here it doesn't look that bad, but as soon as you look at it with a slight angle, it takes all the place. We cannot see anything, it's just way too big. Can't even see the train behind it, so that cannot stay like that. And I also placed these casings to have a bit of an idea of what the diagonal would be like to climb up to that to the right height, and it reaches down just there. So the first way we could use to bring the items up would be with a belt, so just placing it on that diagonal, we would see the items being brought up into the train. I think that would look pretty cool. We wouldn't see it from up on the platform though, or well, we would see it from here, but like as soon as we're here, we wouldn't really see any of the items, which is not that big of a deal, to be honest, and it also means that we could make that structure a lot smaller. We wouldn't need these big pillars, so maybe we could just have two pillars and maybe some fence posts to help make things look a bit sturdier. And if we put the same thing on the other side, we could attach it there. It would look sturdy enough, I think. But this place is quite dangerous at night, so let's take a little nap before I can explain the second method to bring the items up. So it's gonna be a bit counterintuitive, but if we make this little pillar here, this big pillar here, even bigger, it would feel a bit less heavy, I think. Like it would feel a bit less compact, is what I should say, and it would also give us some room in the middle to move a vault upwards. So we would keep the vault down when we want to fill it, put some goodies inside of it, then we would pull it up, and when it's up, we could empty it into the train. Thing is, that would require a bit more complexity to put on top here, and I don't want to deal with that now. We've dealt enough with that with these 3 farms. So we're gonna start with the belt, and if it really doesn't work, if there's a problem that I didn't notice earlier, then we're gonna try and figure out a way to do that. Well, good news everyone, it works. That little structure looks like it can hold itself and like it can hold that belt. And as a bonus, if we look at it from down here, it's perfect if we want to put a sign like "Welcome to Sector 3" or something like that, which we will do in the future, but not today because we've got enough stuff to do. And I also got carried away a bit. So the belt here, it goes all the way down into this hole, which connects to this lovely new little storage room where we get all the yields for all of the farms automatically, so everything gets sent into that storage room. So we got sweet berries here, cocoa beans here, and sugarcane here, so everything has its own barrel. And I also added a chest for sugarcane because you usually need more sugarcane than sweet berries. Usually. But there's nothing automated or anything here, I'm just transferring things manually because when the barrel is full, the excess is gonna get sent into the train. So if I want to keep more than just a barrel, I just put more stuff into the chest. And you might have noticed there's more barrels, they're empty. I was just planning ahead because there's gonna be more farms in here eventually, but not today. Of course, today we have only one thing left to do. Before we end this episode, we need to go back to Sector 2. Because it's great that we get to fill our train with some ingredients, but we actually need to use these ingredients right here to make some tasty food. So let's work on a little system to extract these ingredients and send them to the chocolate factory. Do you remember how I said that I wouldn't just fill my pockets with items and then run around the world to deliver them? And I'm not just gonna fill my pockets with all those items and run around the world. Well, I kinda had to give up on that dream. basically, I couldn't really figure out how I wanted to deliver the items around the sector, and I didn't want to really commit to anything because I got only one build here, and there's going to be more builds, of course. So yeah, I didn't really want to commit to one way and then realize that it didn't work with everything else. So for the moment, the items get taken from the train and get sent into this little warehouse. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at it. As you can see, I took the exact same block palette as I did for the chocolate factory for a few reasons. First, I really like that block palette. I think it works well, and the buildings are far enough apart from each other that I don't think it's a big issue. And most of all, I really was not inspired. So I think that's like the 3 key ingredients to a good build, I think. I'm still quite happy with it, and if we go and take a look inside, you'll see there's not much to see. Just this vault and all the items that we're getting so far. So if I want to just grab some sugar cane, I can just grab it and bring it to the farm. It's pretty underwhelming as a delivery system, but for the moment it works, and that is good enough for me. So it's a bit sad that we are gonna have to end the episode on that note, but you know, stuff like that happens. Sometimes you have a project and you realize it's not the right thing to do, and you just drop it in the garbage. Stuff happens, but we'll get something better later, I promise. Once we have this whole area figured out, we're gonna get something great. So, on that note, thank you so much for watching. Goodbye, have a good day, bye bye.